Well, hey you, and welcome back to another episode of the Miss Michaela Mae Show. I'm your host, Miss Michaela Mae, here with my corgis Tank Willie, and Daisy is actually here today too. I'm still in the valley for the holidays, and Daisy is my mom's corgi. So we have three corgis and a partridge in a pear tree. I have had this episode on my mind for a minute. If you are on the podcast, you do not get a video today because sometimes I get the urge to record something and I need to record it now. And I got the urge when I was thinking about this as I was making my morning. I call it my morning noffee because, as you guys know, I quit caffeine. And so I call it my morning noffee, which means no coffee. I use something called Dandy Blend, and I do literally everything you would do with coffee, but instead of coffee, I use this Dandy Blend. So I got done making that this morning, and I thought, you know what, I don't have time to shower. And sometimes I don't mind coming on here, look like on a video, looking a little bit rough. I look very rough right now. I took a bath last night. I went and got a massage yesterday, and it was a deep tissue massage. So I took a Epsom salt bath to really just help things stay moving. And sometimes I just get the urge to dunk my head in the Epsom salt. I don't know why, and I got that urge last night. So just imagine like the greasiest ball of hair and yeah, in a pajama shirt. That's where we're at today. But as I got done with my coffee, I just like, I have to record this and I have to record this now. So we're just going to do a podcast episode today with no YouTube video. I might do just like a caption type thing. We'll see. The reason I wanted to record this video or podcast with no video, and I felt like I needed to record it now, is because if you have not taken your kids to go to see Zootopia 2 and you would like to, but you are not because of what you're seeing online, I wanted to make this episode to give you a different take, a different perspective, because I am what people would call, well, it's really interesting because the way our culture and politics currently are has shifted. If you were talking to me 20, 30 years ago in the 90s, I would very much be a center left person. Now, today, that would be more considered center right. I am most passionate about definitely, I'm very behind the stuff that RFK is doing. I got red pilled in 2014. If you want to hear more about that, you could go check out my other podcast, The Western Hippie, where I talk holistic healing stuff. This podcast is just for politics and culture. So if you want to know that backstory, you can go over there and check out The Western Hippie on how I got what I call red pilled and everything by Big Pharma and the food industry. So yes, I am very passionate about those things. Because I experienced sexual assault as a kid, I am very passionate about sexual messages being in children's movies because there is a ton of data, and I can even look back and see this within myself, that the more sexualized a child is, the easier they are to groom and to seek out and for a child predator. And so it does not, and this is one thing that I really hope we can drill down in the culture's head, it does not matter if that sexualization is in the name of LGBT. It doesn't matter if the sexualization is in the name of trying to teach kids about their own body. A hypersexualized kid is easier to groom by child predators, and therefore the child predator will seek them out. And believe me when I tell you, and I hate saying believe me, because I never like to I don't believe in believing blindly. I believe in, I have a saying, I believe in discerning deliberately and not believing blindly. So I don't want I kind of don't like myself for just saying, believe me. From my experience, there we go, Michaela. From my experience, I was sexually assaulted twice before the age of 12 when I was between I don't remember, to be honest with you, like 2 to 3, or from like 5 to 6, I was molested by my babysitter's son. And then the horse trainer I was taking lessons from, also I experienced sexual assault with. And to some people oh, you experienced this, it does not surprise me. Like, knowing what I know now, it does not surprise me that I experienced this twice. One, for the horse trainer, I was already hypersexualized. And this is what I was going to say, believe me on. is child predators are very intuitive and very instinctive and have a sixth sense for being able to pick out the right child. I have a few theories on this. They know. And one of the things I could say over the believe me thing is when I was writing my memoir, and I'll link my memoir below about the sexual assault I experienced when I was 12, I decided to get the police report. I had never read the police report. I wanted to fact check myself. I wanted to make sure it was very important to me that this book, even though memoir literally means like recalling from memory, it was very important to me that this book was accurate. Even if nobody else would know, for me, the timeline of things, it was very important for me for this book to be as accurate as possible and not for everything to just be recalled from memory. So I had called the police station that handled my case, and I had requested the police report. What I did not anticipate in the police report is I had never read his testimony. We ended up doing a plea deal out of court. I had never read his testimony, and I just didn't even think about that being in there. Like, of course I should have known that was going to be in there. But the reason I was requesting it was for my stuff and not his stuff. And so I didn't think it would be in there. And what was really interesting about me reading that is I'm going to write a book. I've got my memoir, the second part of my memoir, and then as I continue to age and get older, there will be more memoirs. There's another book when I see this series of memoirs. There's a book that I don't want to share the title of it yet, but the tagline of the book is the patterns I believed made me a victim not only once but twice in my childhood. Because again, like I said earlier, as I've studied it, I'm not surprised at all that I was targeted twice by two different predators. Not in the slightest. And so I have been working on and writing down like, okay, these are the patterns I've seen in myself that I believe made me a target twice. And then I've also seen all of these patterns in all the other victims of sexual abuse, sexual assault, child molestation I have talked with. Like, we all have these patterns across the board in our psyche, beliefs. When I say patterns, I mean beliefs that we have, home situations that we have, self-worth, wounds that we have. And so these are all patterns. And again, this has all just been theories in my mind at this point. I get the police report. I read his testimony. And the interesting thing is all of these patterns I've talked about, he mentions every single one of them. The horse trainer that assaulted me. The interesting thing is he used them to explain why I was lying. So he said, oh, Michaela's home life is like this. Michaela's like this. He used all of them to explain why I was lying. Michaela's lying because this is what her home life is like. Michaela's lying because this is what she's like. Michaela's lying because, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Him and I both know that's not true. And that's like the other weird thing about sexual assault. It's like, it's only you and the predator that really knows what's going on. And we all know they're not going to tell the truth. And so it's this very like lonely experience, but I'm not going to go too far off on that. And so because long story long, because I have that background, because I know all of those things, I am very hyper aware of sexual messages in children's movies, and I am not okay with them, period, because the consequences are too great. And I didn't see him. I didn't see him in Zootopia 2. I've seen the movie twice. I'm going back to see it a third time. And I'm not seeing it. I also went to film school, so I pay attention to this stuff. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know my friend Landon and I do movie reviews. Landon and I have the same views on sexual images and sexual messages in children's movies. We have very, Tank, you might hear Tank snorting in the background. I don't know if you can actually hear him or not, but we joke that he has a deviated septum. So when he breathes, there's just this, it sounds like he's snoring. He's done it since he was a puppy to the point that we thought about naming him Snort, but Tank is very fitting for him. Anyway, we have the same views on movies. If this movie was something that was super hypersexualized, had a ton of what people that I see in my circle are concerned about is there's a rumor mill that there is a gay couple in the film. And there is way more what in film you would call like sexual tension between Judy and Nick. Way more. They are clearly the center characters. They are clearly they're setting it up for them to eventually be together. All Disney movies have, not all of them, but all the princess movies have some form of sexual tension. So I haven't heard people complain about that. What this specific Instagram post blew up about was this gay couple, which is Judy's neighbors. One, they're in the first film. Two, I had no idea they were a gay couple. I thought they were just roommates because it's pretty clear that Zootopia 2 is based on LA. I went to film school in LA, and I know how many people have to have roommates. Two dudes will be living together. Two chicks will be living together. Like, that's what you do to pay the rent. And so knowing Zootopia 2 is based after LA, I never even in a million years crossed my mind that, oh, those two are two gay couples. I thought they were just two crotchety roommates, and they're the same species. And, Nick and Judy are different species coming together. And so it did not even cross my mind that they were, that was a couple. But the most interesting thing is that couple was in the first movie, and they're less in the second movie than they are in the first movie. And people are complaining about the second movie, but their kids have already watched the first movie and they're okay with it. And I think it's really important for us to go take our children to go to movie theaters. I think movie theaters are a dying breed, and they should not be. I think it's very important to go somewhere where you can watch a movie with your kids and turn your phones off and you're only focused to be eating popcorn at the movies. Some of my favorite memories are going to the movie theaters, and it's really sad to me that most kids are missing out on it. And we finally have a Disney movie that is good for kids to go see, and people are making it something that it's not. And that's what is breaking my heart about this. And to a certain extent, I was talking to my friend about this last night, I don't blame people. Disney has built a very specific reputation. They have done this to themselves to a very large extent. And there's people out there, I always think about that saying, like, seek and ye shall find. You can find something if you want to find it. People make two best friends lesbian when they're not. People make two guy friends, or if a guy, less with the guy friends, but if a guy is even slightly feminine, people will accuse him of being gay. And it's just not always the truth. But if you're looking for it, you will find it. And the most that these two characters that people are saying about are in the film is in the after credit scene. And like the first movie, they're talking through the wall and they use the picture frames to like go back and forth with who's talking. I just don't see it. I don't see the issue with this film. Again, I would be the first one to say if there was an issue with this film, I would not have gone back to see it a second time. And I certainly wouldn't be going back to see it a third time if I thought there was a hardcore push for sexual messages towards children, regardless of what those sexual messages are, including, and we can argue like I don't know. I don't see it. I'm honestly just gonna wrap this episode up and leave it there. If you have listened to this episode and you're on the fence, I really encourage you to go take your kids to watch it. I do. I think it's important. I think it's important for us to keep going to movie theaters. I think it's important for us. And I would even say that if you saw the video on Instagram that most people seem to be seeing, even if you go in the comment section, there are people saying this is a stretch. This is not, like, I went and saw the movie. This is not true. Don't just watch the video, read the comments, go do other research, because people are really looking and making something out to be something it is not, including in this movie, Zootopia 2. Again, I understand. I'm really passionate about children's stuff. I would not be making this episode if I thought that this movie had even a slight chance at hypersexualizing children to make them more of a match to get targeted out by a child predator. I just wouldn't. So I wanted to make this episode, again, to encourage you. If you've been on the fence, go see it. Go take your kids to see it. It's great. There's a few things from a film standpoint I have issues with. There's things that are a little bit too on the nose. a little too flat. I think there's something missing. Like the movie's really good. It's a good Disney sequel. It's a good Disney movie. It's not a great Disney movie. And I think there are just a few things missing, or they could have cut a few things to make it better. It has nothing to do with any sexual innuendos. That does not make it great. So those are my thoughts on Zootopia 2. If you're on the fence, take your kid to go see it. If you listen to this episode, thank you so much. Again, I created this podcast specifically to talk about culture and politics, and this currently is something in our culture that was on my heart. So thank you for listening to my Michaela rant on Zootopia 2. Anyway, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Tank, Willie, and I will talk to you next time. If you found value out of this episode, I would be so thankful if you would rate, review, and subscribe. And again, we will talk to you next time.